Hi, good evening then, everybody. Yeah, I'm Rob Lee. I'm a freelance designer, graphic artist, and duty manager at the showroom workstation here in Sheffield. I'm going to talk to you tonight about my personal work and the development of my style, really, and how I've got to where I am now. So as a teenager, I was very I was inspired by the Designers Republic's flyers that were plastered all over Sheffield at the time. Very drawn to their bold typographical style and the bright colours. My early work was definitely influenced by these. With this like base interest in abstract shape and colour, I went on to study graphic arts and design at Leeds Met BA. I dabbled in this and that, but I specialised in 3D modelling and animation. It was here where I realised my interest lie in the kind of the technical process and fine detail. I definitely have my dad to thank for that. He used to be a structural engineer, but I'd build these complex models built out of many smaller objects and animate them constructing and deconstructing. After university, I got into stencil art, and it really like the beginning of my obsession for the perfect clean line. I became quite obsessed in cutting fine detail and learning the techniques to avoid underspray and bleeding, etc. From stencil art, I got into street art and a kind of development of my style into much larger scale mural-esque paintings. You can see like the perfect symmetry and got the clean lines there and everything. But what I've recently got into is anamorphic typography or perspective anamorphosis. This is the process of distorting an image's perspective, requiring the viewer to take up a certain viewpoint to see it correctly. A very basic example of it would be to take an image, a portrait, you put it into, say, Photoshop, you squeeze it, you print it out, you view down the page, you view it at an acute angle, and there you'll see Ross Kemp's face would become back to his perfect circular shape. It dates as far back as prehistoric times, and throughout the history of contemporary art, one of the most famous being Hans Holbein's The Ambassadors here, dated 1533, in which you see this skewed object in the foreground, which viewed from the right angle appears as a skull. So when I discovered it, I immediately became passionate, as it kind of brings everything I'm interested in together. You got the abstract shapes, clean lines, the technical process, and the bold, bright colours. But more so is the fact that you can, with typography, you can communicate a message, or even convey an emotion, and even more so than that, using the human brain's capacity to calculate perspective, you can, in a way, basically control when the viewer will see an image. You can keep it hidden until a specific point, and therefore have that control. So this is some of my personal work. This is the first one I did. The viewpoint of this being from my pillow, so when I wake up in the morning, I get greeted with that. When I discovered it, I didn't really, quite foolishly, didn't think about research into what it actually is. I just went about looking into how I can do it myself. So I thought, well, what would you do? The viewpoint, you take a photo of the viewpoint, you put the image into a program like, say, a vector program like Illustrator. You trace the contours of the perspective, you superimpose the image over the top, print it out, go up to a wall to paint it, and then it just won't work. The lines won't line up, and that's when I realised you project it. So I bought an OHP, and off I went this is a piece I did in the, I don't know if you've heard of it, the Audacious Art Experiment. They're like a collective in Sheffield who put on gigs and put out records. I did this in their practice space. And yeah, this is a little time-lapse piece of me at it. It's got the kind of process there, but the projection, you mask it out and spray it up. Obviously that fast. So how can I progress with it? Well, really, I feel the possibilities are limitless, really, depending on the space and the power of the projector, really. I personally want to work with much more complex lines of perspective, much more depth, and to experiment with using shape, using a 2D shape, projecting that on a 3D space. You can interact it to make the object look 3D. A artist, I've forgotten his name. I can't believe it, I've forgotten his name. Yeah, it's gone. I've only recently discovered this artist, but it turns out he's been doing it for like 30 odd years. Pure, like the amount of work he's done is incredible, and that shows the artistic potential of it. But commercially, I think it's got massive potential. You can communicate a message in a practical yet creative way, and you don't really get that, really. So got lots of work in the pipeline, a few commissions. So watch this space, guys. Thanks very much.